Bill C-9 is introduced in the parliament. Why conservatives are saying that Bill C-9 is dangerous and they are calling to Canadians that this is a dangerous for Canada, whereas liberals says the other thing. So conservatives are calling Canadians that Bill C-9 is a dangerous bill for Canada and protect the religious rights. Let's see the report. Let's ask conservatives why this bill is dangerous to Canada and why liberals are saying that this bill is good for Canada. Let's see the full report. Andrew, why conservatives are saying that Bill C-9 is dangerous for Canadians, whereas the liberals are saying this is a good bill for Canadians?
Look, I think that we need to protect Canadians of all communities and all faiths and ethnicities from hate. The reality is Bill C-9 changes the definition of hate, and it also removes long-standing protections against being accused of hate speech for sharing deeply held religious beliefs. So what we're saying is that you can't protect people from hate if you're threatening to prosecute them for their beliefs on issues that the government may object to. We need to protect people from having their views and opinions, and when people are being targeted and harassed in hateful ways, we need to enforce the existing laws that are intended to deal with that.
But why liberals are saying that this is good for Canadians, whereas conservatives are saying what the justification you gave. But whereas when we talk to the liberal counterparts, they are saying this is good and necessary for the Canadians.
The Liberals are trying to distract from the fact that they've allowed hate to become as pervasive in Canada as they have. We look at anti-Semitism in the last few years, and again, people are openly calling for genocide on the streets, and the Liberal government has not acted. We have seen attacks on Indian community members across the country, and this has been allowed to happen under existing laws. So what we're saying to the Liberals is, you've had 10 years. Why have you not solved this problem? Bill C-9 is them trying to lay blame, but they're the ones that deserve the blame.
So what Canadians should do in this scenario now?
Well, I think Canadians need to tell the Liberals that we do not want Bill C-9, that we want to protect our religious freedom, we want to protect our freedom of speech, and that attacking hate cannot come at the expense of targeting communities for expressing their religious beliefs. When Parliament comes back in just under a week, the Liberals will have to make the decision of whether they stick to this bill that Canadians don't want or not. We hope the Liberals will do the right thing.
But liberals have the majority because Bloc Quebec is with them. So if this bill gets passed, then what?
Well, if the bill gets passed, then I know Canadians will rise up and not forgive the Liberals for it. We've already heard people say that they will not vote Liberal if they go ahead with this. So we're saying to the Liberals, it's not too late to do the right thing and withdraw Bill C-9. Focus on real crime, focus on extortion, focus on bail, focus on car thefts. These are what people actually want solutions for, especially in the GTA.
In the previous year, we had seen that so many churches here in Canada were burned down.
Yeah.
And government, there was not big reaction from the government. So is that bill also cover something in this religious places being burned down?
No, and this Bill C-9 actually removes a charge of mischief against a religious site. So it actually takes away a power we have to go after what you've just described. 123 churches have been burned or vandalized in Canada in the last 5 years. There has been no outrage from the Liberal government. So we already see that they're very selective about which faith communities and which hate they want to stand up and deal with. And we think we need to protect all faith communities.
So your message to the Canadians?
My message to Canadians is that the Conservatives stand with you. We want to get serious about actual crime in this country and not policing what you believe and what you feel and what your religious leaders preach.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bill C-9 ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਕਹੋਗੇ? ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵਸ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਕਿ ਡੇਂਜਰਸ ਬਿੱਲ ਹੈ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ, whereas the liberals are saying that this is an important bill. ਕੀ ਫਰਕ ਹੈ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ?
ਵੈਲ ਦੇਖੋ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਹੇਟ ਨੀਡ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਸਟਾਪ, ਹੇਟ ਨੀਡ ਟੂ ਬੀ ਐਲੀਮੀਨੇਟਡ ਫਰਮ ਆਵਰ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਐਂਡ ਸੋਸਾਇਟੀ। ਤੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੋਡ ਜਿਹੜਾ 390 ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ 319 ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਉਹ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਕਵਰ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ। ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਇੱਥੇ ਟਾਊਨ ਹਾਲ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਕਸਦ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਣੀ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਐਗਜ਼ੈਂਪਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਟੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ, ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਹ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਫਰੀडम ਆਫ ਐਕਸਪ੍ਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਜਾਂ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਫਰੀडम ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਫੰਡਾਮੈਂਟਲ, ਇਟਸ ਨਾਟ ਸੈਕੰਡਰੀ, ਇਟਸ ਅ ਫੰਡਾਮੈਂਟਲ ਪਾਰਟ ਆਫ ਦ ਡੈਮੋਕ੍ਰੇਸੀ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਵਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਵੀ ਕੈਨ ਸਪੀਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਰੀਲੀ, ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਲੀਫ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ।
ਬਿਲ C-9 ਫਰੀडम ਆਫ ਸਪੀਚ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਰੋਕ ਰਿਹਾ? ਕੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਚ ਪੁਆਇੰਟਸ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਰੀडम ਆਫ ਸਪੀਚ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਾਂ ਅਟੈਕ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ?
ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਕਮੇਟੀ 'ਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ, ਜਸਟਿਸ ਐਂਡ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਰਾਈਟਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਫ ਕਾਮਨਸ ਦੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੇਰੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਐਂਡਰੂ ਲਾਟਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਡਿਫੈਂਸ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੈਲਿਊਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਮੇਰੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਇਹ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਫਰੀडम ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਫਰੀडम ਟੂ ਸਪੀਕ, ਫਰੀडम ਟੂ ਬਿਲੀਵ ਤੇ ਫਰੀडम ਟੂ ਵਰਸ਼ਿਪ the faith you want to be। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਾਈਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਤੇ ਮਲਟੀਕਲਚਰਲਿਜ਼ਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਜੇ ਉਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਪਾਸ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਐਨੀਬਡੀ ਹੂ ਇਜ਼ ਟਾਕਿੰਗ ਅਬਾਊਟ ਦ ਬਿਲੀਫਸ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਚਰਸ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਲਿਖੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਚਾਹੇ ਬਾਈਬਲ ਹੋਵੇ, ਕੁਰਾਨ ਹੋਵੇ, ਤੋਰਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਭਗਵਤ ਗੀਤਾ, ਰਾਮਾਇਣ, ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੈਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ 'ਚ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਚ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੁਛ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੇਟ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ, ਲੋਕਾਂ 'ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਆ ਕਿ ਹਾਊ ਦਿਸ ਬਿੱਲ ਇਜ਼ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਟੂ ਹਾਰਮ ਦ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ, ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਰਿਲੀਜੀਅਸ ਫਰੀडम ਦੇ ਹੱਕ 'ਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਹਾਂ ਐਂਡ ਵੀ ਸਟੈਂਡ ਵਿਦ ਦੈਟ।
ਸੋ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ?
ਵੈਲ, ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਨੀਡ ਟੂ ਕਾਲ ਆਲ ਦਾ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਣ ਕਿ ਬਈ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ the fundamental problem, we want religious freedom in this country, we want freedom of expression in this country, and ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿ ਬਈ ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ। ਐਂਡ ਬਿਟਵੀਨ ਨਾਓ ਐਂਡ 26 this is the time ਜਦ ਇਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ, ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ, tell them that these are the views that we want, religious freedom and freedom of expression.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Canada is a country that people from around the world come to because they love what Canada is and they love the freedoms that Canada has. And people that have come from countries that don't have strong protections for freedom of expression appreciate what Canada offers. And we're trying to make sure we protect that so that people that have come who have different beliefs, who have different families and different faiths are all allowed to participate in freedom of expression and religious freedom. And that's why we think Bill C-9, a Liberal bill, is so dangerous to immigrant communities, to people who are born in Canada, to people of faith, to everyone. So that's what we're standing up for today, to protect religious freedom and freedom of expression and keep the Canada that we all love. We're opposing Bill C-9 because it won't protect people from hate when it risks prosecuting them for expressing deeply held religious beliefs on a range of subjects. You know, people talking about family and values and all of these things where parents need to be free to raise their children, people of faith need to be free to practice and worship their faith, and Bill C-9 erodes that. So we think what the Liberal government needs to do is let us focus on real criminal justice reforms that we have before Parliament. Let us focus on bail reform, ending extortion, which is just ravaging communities. Canadians want answers on that. They don't want a government that's going to police their religious practice. Well, look, we've been raising awareness across the country, having conversations like the one we're going to have here tonight with people of faith, with all Canadians. We think it's important that people share their concerns with Liberal members of Parliament. It's the Liberals that need to do the right thing, withdraw Bill C-9, and let us get fixing the real criminal justice issues that are really causing public safety to be an issue in the GTA, in Surrey, and all over the country.
I don't want to underestimate the stakes here tonight. Those are the words of the former Minister of Justice, who suggested that religious texts are hateful and suggested that people who preach from them, read from them, believe them may be subject to criminal prosecution. So we're going to get into the details of that, but I think it's important to put that on the table. And that's why it's so important to see you here tonight supporting our Conservative team, supporting Conservatives across the country to push back against this and defend the religious liberty of all Canadians.
We need to work on this thing. We cannot govern by a government that is stopping us to believe, to speak, and to worship the faith that we want to do it. So I will tell you some perspective also, that we as a Conservative team are fighting against the C-9 religious exemptions that they are trying to bring forward. And I am so happy to say that I am the member of Justice Committee, Justice and Human Rights Committee, and we have a great champion here who is hosting this event, my good friend Andrew Lawton, who is with me at, yes, definitely he is a round of applause. So he is the one who is championing about this C-9, and he is so vocal. He has spoken in length, and I'll tell you, in length means not 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 20 minutes. For hours he is talking about the issues that matter most to you. for the religious freedom. We have to protect religious freedom. The things that were already covered in criminal code do not need to be reinforced into another bill. So we do not need those things. We are wise enough to know what our beliefs are, what our faiths are. And I always say this thing. I always say to everyone that I would be a religious freedom champion. And you know what, in the past also, in the history, if you go back, you have seen that there was an office for religious freedom in the federal government that has been eliminated. We need to restore the things that we can help our friends, families to worship the faith they believe in, to speak freely, and religious freedom and freedom of expression is the charter of right thing. It is not secondary. It has to be provided to the people of Canada.
If Bill C-9 goes to a vote, it will pass. The only way we will defeat this is by raising the political stakes enough that the Liberals know Canadians do not want this. Raising the political stakes enough so that the Liberals know Canadians will not stand for this assault on religious freedom. The Canadians of all faiths, of all backgrounds, left and right, are united that we will protect our charter rights. This issue came up, and we realized that it was such an existential issue for people who value freedom of expression and people who value religious freedom. When Pierre Poilievre, our leader, asked me to take a role in this as a member of the Justice Committee, as someone who's been advocating for our fundamental freedoms for years through my professional work before I was elected, I knew I couldn't do it alone. And when I looked at my Conservative team and said, who can help with this? These hands shot up so quickly, as did almost a majority of the members of our caucus, people that value this and are fighting for this in their own ridings right now. So thank you to all of you for doing that and for your leadership. And remember that there is a true network behind this. Tonight would not be possible without the incredible organizational efforts and boots on the ground. We are here because we value something so fundamental that when I stepped up to run, I never thought I would have to be fighting for, especially so soon into my time as a member of Parliament. We have a charter in this country that protects freedom of expression. And it protects religious freedom. It protects our right to assemble. But we have also seen these freedoms ignored or trampled on by a government that at its fundamental core needs to preserve and protect these freedoms. Bill C-9 came about because of something that all of us agree is necessary to address. Hate is a scourge in our society. We have seen over the last 2.5 years our Jewish friends and neighbors besieged by threats of violence, by actual violence. People calling openly for genocide in the streets. I stand here as a Christian, knowing that 123 Christian churches have been burned or vandalized in the last 5 years. And when Justin Trudeau was asked about it, he said it was, quote, understandable. Understandable that people might want to burn a church. We know that Indian faith, Sikhs, Hindus have been targeted by hate when they simply want to live their lives and practice their faith. All of us must stand together against hate. And I'm so glad that we live in a country that has laws to deal with this. C-9 does a couple of things that on the surface sound very reasonable. One of the things it does is it makes it a crime to obstruct access to a house of worship. No one should be denied from entering a synagogue, a church, a mosque, which is why it's already illegal. We have laws dealing with harassment, dealing with intimidation, laws against mischief against houses of worship. Some of you may have learned that in the last few days, a sacred relic was stolen from the St. Thomas Malabar Church in Scarborough. A targeted assault on a core religious artifact, holy to the people of that church. So we know that we have laws to deal with this. The question we have to ask is, why haven't they been enforced? And it comes down to a lack of political leadership. And for years, that's what the Jewish community was crying out for. When people are calling for genocide, we should arrest them and charge them with inciting genocide. No one was asking for new laws that as we see in Bill C-9, actually create more harm for the people they are intended to protect, or at least that they say they will protect. So I'm going to try not to be too boring here, but I want to explain exactly what we're fighting for, because the Liberals have been trying to muddy the waters and do what they do best, which is try to accuse everyone else of doing what they themselves are doing. So one of the things that Bill C-9 does is it introduces a new definition of hate. So we actually have in the law right now a definition of hate that has been honed over many years by the Supreme Court that maintains a very high bar, as there should be in a free country, where we need to accept a range of beliefs, some of which we may find offensive, some of which we may find even very hurtful, but must still be protected. But the most insidious part of Bill C-9 wasn't even part of the bill that the Liberals put forward. It came about in an amendment, because the Liberals realized that nobody wanted C-9. The Conservatives were raising concerns with it. The NDP were raising concerns with it. The Bloc Québécois were raising concerns with it. The Green, Elizabeth May, was raising concerns with it. It was being denounced by leaders of pretty much every faith group in Canada, civil liberties advocates, the left, the right. No one except for the Liberals wanted it. So they said, let's make a deal. They went to the Bloc Québécois, a party that has a footprint in just one province, and they said to the Bloc, okay, we'll give you this amendment that you've long advocated for to purge religion, because the Bloc wants religion out of the public sphere. The Liberals said, we'll give you this amendment, and you give us your vote on C-9. And the amendment removes long-standing protection for religious speech from the criminal code. So right now, you cannot be charged with willfully promoting hate speech effectively, if you are actually expressing in good faith a religious view or citing a religious text. So by removing this, you are now saying that people who are expressing a good faith religious view or quoting a scripture that the government says is hateful can be charged, convicted, and jailed for up to 2 years. Now this is astonishing, and you can tell that we are concerned because we're all here today. But we have a reason to, as Jacob mentioned, when a Liberal chair of the Justice Committee gets up and says that some verses of Scripture are inherently hateful, and prosecutors should be able to charge you for uttering them. He is saying that it should be illegal to quote some books of the Bible. He is saying that the government should be able to draw a red line through Holy Scriptures. He mentioned 3 books, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Romans. 2 of those are in the Old Testament. He's not just taking aim at Christians, he's taking aim at Jews as well. He's taking aim at anyone who has a religious text that is sacred to them, that might govern an issue for which we need to have a range of views and opinions in society. Interfering with the right of faith leaders to preach things that matter to their communities, interfering with parents and teachers and schools that want to be able to freely express their values without interference from the government. People will often talk about separation of church and state. Well, that is a two-way street. By opposing C-9, we are upholding that separation, because we are preventing the state from governing what the church can preach. And that should be so self-evident. This was Bill C-9, the Liberals' first justice bill.